All right, so today is Tuesday. I'm really thankful that it's Tuesday because it has been very, very, very hot here. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. We talk about a lot of different things, and we were even talking about our shared misery because it was hot. Let me first say that there are some people who still don't quite get it. And this is why I think it's important for people to travel and to visit places. And I tell folks, especially young black men, hey, be sure to travel. Be sure to learn about different places, not necessarily just outside the US, but travel to different places within the US also. Don't go to the typical places. And unfortunately, you have a lot of that where, we go to the typical places, Atlanta, Miami, and all these other places, versus going to, let's say, Seattle, Washington, or Vail, or I don't know, San Diego. We don't typically do that. And as a result, we don't seem to, and I say we, I'm talking about young black men. Some of us don't tend to understand that things are very different. And not only just black folks, there are people in general who don't understand that people who live on the other side of the country live a very completely different life in every aspect. You can have people of the same political party, one person living over in the Midwest and one person living out West, and they're going to be drastically different. Maybe they have a few similar ideals, but just the here is a different world, right? In almost every aspect. It's just a completely different world. And so I think that folks don't quite understand that. And I'm referring to the heat, for example. So I was talking about on Facebook posting, and people here understand it, that, man, it's hot. Super, super hot, man. It's going to be like whatever the temperature is. And I had people saying, well, it's going to be, it's typically like 90 something degrees here, in this state. It's a state out east. We typically have temperatures about this, or, that's nothing. But you live either in the Midwest or the East Coast, which are technically always kind of hot during the summer months. And I'm talking spending days and days and days on end in the 90s, high 80s and 90s. You also have most of the country, not counting Washington State and Oregon, most of the country has air conditioning or swamp coolers if you're down in the Southwest. So it doesn't matter if your temperature gets to 105 or 115, you have some sort of relief. Here, we have absolutely no air conditioning in most places. Most businesses were shut down because they don't have air conditioning. Some of the grocery stores were closed not because they don't have air conditioning, but because running the refrigerator system was going in overdrive because it's so darn hot. We'll get to the whole global warming thing too, because there's going to be some people butthurt about that. But so it's funny how people think, well, man, they're delicate up there, and where we live. It's like, no, I want you to come spend some time here in the summer and be in a place that has no air conditioning. And it's not like I'm not used to that. When I went to Haiti, which was cooler, by the way, these last few days in Haiti than it was here. But when I went to Haiti, there was no air conditioning in the place that I stayed. In fact, there was no glass windows, nothing. It was just a concrete structure. And the person that ran the organization said she likes to live like the locals do, live like the Haitians do, the vast majority. There are some very wealthy people there. But she likes to have conditions where she's not putting herself in comfort. Because right outside her window, most of the people that's around her, especially on that island, no one lives really super well. And let me tell you, you take a shower, you come out, you're literally just sweating. I lost weight not because didn't eat as much. It was due to just sweating constantly for that over a week and a half that I was there. I lost weight. And so that it was just so darn hot. It was so hot that when I get hot, I have cholinergic urticaria. So my back itches like I have a ton of mosquitoes. Because one of the problems is you're not able to sweat. Your body, for some reason, is not sweating and all this other type of stuff, right? It's crazy how skin issues and asthma and all this other stuff and all of this is kind of related. Even mental health and all that. It's all related. It's just strange how that works. Noelle and I are learning more about that. And it was so darn hot, my CU didn't even act up. The man cave here got roasted. And my back didn't have a chance to even itch. I went outside in the blazing hot sun. Nothing. That's how hot it was. And Zoe, same thing. She has it worse than I do, but she has eczema that flares up, big, huge patches. It was so darn hot, she was numb. She said her legs were numb. It didn't even get a chance to. So we were enjoying it. We were outside and doing different things because it's rare for this time of year for us to even exist in most of the country because it gets hot enough to irritate us, but not super hot. When we're like, if I was down in South Florida, I'd be all right. Or on the coast of like South Carolina, I'm cool. Or in the Bahamas, or like in Haiti, none of those places bother me. It's so darn hot. Every other place, it's just hot enough to irritate me. The humidity and the heat has to be just where it needs to be for me to be okay. And that was what it was here. It was so blazing hot. So hot that the pool water was like warm. It was just like warm water, like a bath, right? It got up to 105, I believe, in Tacoma on Monday, which was yesterday. 105. And it got so hot because we don't have a lot of concrete bridges here. Most places you have concrete bridges. Where I'm from, bridges are made out of concrete typically. You don't see a lot of asphalt bridges. The bridges started to melt and buckle. They had to shut some of them down because up here, the climate is such that we don't necessarily need concrete bridges. Sometimes you need concrete bridges because of the amount of traffic and heavy trucks and stuff like that. And it's best to have that. Typically on interstates, you have concrete bridges, but some of the inner bridges in the city are not always made out of that. And one of the bridges up in Seattle was made out of asphalt, and they had to shut it down because the bridge is just melting. That metal and then the asphalt and the heat, it was just not doing so hot. The rail system in Portland, Oregon, TriMet, shut down completely because the tracks were so darn hot. They were superheated. Trains in Seattle had to slow down because the tracks were so darn hot. And so I posted road temperatures because I think my sister said that the heat on the roads was like 157. I don't know if it was that hot, but it was super hot. And someone I know laughed at it. Now, this is someone who thinks that a lot of the stuff with global warming and stuff is just a hoax and this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's fine for you to have your own views and opinions, but those people can't seem to answer certain things like this, where in recorded history, it has not gotten this hot several days in a row here in recorded history. Maybe one day it has gotten to 100 or 101, but not where every single day. You can't get on camera. No, he's naked. No, he's naked. Can't get on camera now.
I know.
It's a video. All right. Dang, I didn't expect that. She came out of the shower. Can you give my charging cord, please? So anyway, it's never been that way. And you're going to have some people who will say, well, because they put profit over reality. There are some people who know better, who are at the very top, who know better. And they know that we are destroying the environment. They know that, right? But instead of doing the right thing and talking about how this is affecting everyone and how its short-term gains are going to have devastating long-term effects, they don't do that. And so some of the people who aren't that educated or who don't do a lot of research, and some of them unfortunately are in my family, they don't know no different, and so therefore they go along with the BS because they don't take the time to do much research themselves. They think it's all just bogus, and they think that whatever. And that's their own prerogative. But the reality is something completely different. Again, I go back to what I said before. I had someone who, thought that I was upset because I didn't agree with their view, their political view. And it's like, you're entitled to think whatever you want. You can think that, we are inside of someone's dream and this is all not real. You could think what you want, but the reality is completely different. The facts are the facts. And unless you are one of those scientists who have a high level degree that has been studying the environment for decades and generations, and we're not talking just people, one or two people, we're talking around the planet, then you don't have any grounds to stand on to say, well, they're wrong. And some of these people never even went to college, never even attempted to go to do anything. But yet somehow they know more than people who have studied the environment and the global effects, and they know the history of the planet and how things have cycled and all that. Because people say, oh, well, the planet has heated up before. Sure, it has. It has. And it also has been major ice ages that have happened over and over and over and over again. But the fact that we're superheating up faster than most of the times that we've looked back, and people say, well, how do they know? They weren't around a million years ago. And they have other people saying, well, it snows every year, so what, global warming? Again, education's key. And I tell young black men, please go to school. And there are some people who do go to school, but still are just stupid. There may be some people that don't like it, but that, I don't care. One of the reasons why I moved away from my hometown was because not everybody, right? Not everybody. But there is this culture of beating your chest and knowing more than anybody else. And that doesn't work. It's not based on reality. And the fact that we have roads melting, power systems failing here. Now, Tacoma, the great thing about Tacoma, one of the guys in our Discord mentioned this, but Tacoma is less likely to have a power failure than some of these surrounding suburbs. It's because we are an industrial city. We have a lot of industry here. So they've always had to overbuild. Big old port, they had to overbuild the power system here. Some of these other little towns, cities, suburbs, they're just built. There's not a lot of big industry there. So some of these cities were just having power outages and completely their power system failed. And so when you're looking at it, and we had a portable air conditioner, one of the things you should prepare for when you come here is if you move into a place that's not super brand new, and even some of the brand new apartments, there's no air conditioning typically because we are an area where you didn't need air conditioning. You maybe had a day where it was super hot and you had to open the windows for some cross breeze, but it wasn't in the super hundreds. It wasn't like 100 degrees. And for that to be back to back to back, and we beat records. I mean, it's one thing for us to beat a record on, what was it? So Monday was super hot. Sunday was hot, and then Saturday was getting there. Saturday beat a record, and it was just, that was a cool day. That beat records we're talking since recorded time. Sunday beat that record, and then Monday smacked all of those records and beat everything. So yeah, it's a big deal. And someone else was talking about how, why is it this or why are that? Like, I don't understand. It's because we don't have air conditioning here. They were talking about how it gets warm there, and I'm like, well, duh. I grew up in Kentucky. I know heat and humidity. But you could run into most places you would go to, you had air conditioning. The only thing when I was growing up that didn't have an air conditioner when I was like 17, 18 was my car. My little beat up car didn't have air conditioning. It rolled down the windows. By the time I got to work, I was sweating from head to foot, my back, because, and all that heat, and I had to drive for like 20 minutes to get to work. And then your back's up against the hot seat, and then you have that gel of sweat. It's just nasty. That was the only thing that didn't have air conditioning. So you'd run inside of a place, and that cold air is just like, ooh. You don't have that here. You leave your house hot, you get in your car, it's like, ooh, if you have air conditioning in your car, which thankfully we do in both of them. And then you go to your work, and it's hit and miss if they have air conditioning. Some of these buildings you see, there's no air conditioning. There are some buildings throughout the city here that you would think they don't have air conditioning because they were built at a time when that was not something that was needed. Some have been upgraded. When we're talking brand new, yeah, they do. But most of the things that were built at least 15 years ago, no. 15 years ago or older, typically not. So now Seattle is the biggest city without air conditioning in the country, right? It just is. And so that's slowly changing because the temperatures are starting to change here for the worst. And so now we're becoming more of a city that is getting air conditioning. But it was crazy. The farther north you went, the hotter it got. The farther south you went, the cooler it got until you got to Oregon, and then it was just completely different. So down in Tacoma, it was hot. Don't get me wrong. It was really, really hot. You look up, and it reminded me of New Mexico. New Mexico, one time there was a big dust storm. And prior to that dust storm, because you would get word of it, it was just a billowing roll of just brown. It'd go up pretty high. And you would know about it because the news would talk about it. And I remember looking up at the sky, and there was just sun and blue. There was no cloud whatsoever. It was just that sun and just blue, similar to my shirt, and it was just hot. Very, very darn hot. And that yesterday was a flashback of that. It was so hot, so bright, it was hard to kind of even look up at the sky away from the sun. It was just, there was nothing there but just sun. It got so hot that even at Mount Rainier, 10,000 feet up, it was 73 degrees. Now, this is a mountain that keeps snow on it year round. And usually the roads are closed most of the year because it's just covered in thick, thick snow. But for that, 2 miles up to be 73 degrees, and you have some idiots saying that global warming doesn't exist, or that, it does, but what about other people? It just baffles me. It goes back to what I've said before. There will be people who know better, and those are the people who some people will debate, and that makes sense. There are some people who are just completely stupid. And it's up to you whether or not you want to sit and waste your time trying to talk sense into them. I don't. I definitely don't. I don't have the patience for that. Maybe that's bad or negative. I just don't have the patience. I figure if you're old enough and you're out of, high school age, you should be big enough to do your own research and not get it from news sources that have some sort of agenda, but truly do your research. Not get it from some sort of political idiot, but get it from, and I'm not saying one political party over the other. I'm saying literally, there's idiots everywhere, but get your true information, right? Read science journals, which people won't do. But it was very hot. One of the things you should prepare for here is a portable air conditioner. Don't wait until the very end. When you move here, Hopefully it's not in the summer, but when you move here, one of the things you should do, if your place or house does not have an air conditioner, get a portable air conditioner. We stayed in our downstairs guest bedroom as a family because it's pretty decent size. And I put the cat in there, the dog in there, Noelle and the kids, our sea monkeys, which they can survive the heat. But we put everybody in there and we survived those 3 days. We ran that thing nonstop. So that's something that you have to do. I feel bad for the people that didn't have air conditioning or the power went out and so they were just struggling through the heat. Feel horrible for the people who are living on the streets and they have no access to hardly anything. There were some cooling stations around, but those places get full quick. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.